Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I'm your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout out last week's episode 207 with Marlon Welsh. He is a keynote speaker, a momentum coach, and he has his own podcast. Came on the podcast and was talking about how he kind of got into that, kind of going through some of his childhood traumas and talking about working through that, getting into the Marines, and just working through a lot of the stuff he's been going through to get to the point where he's at. Fantastic episode. Don't overlook this one. You guys have to go check it out. You can check it out, the Carroll Connection on simplecast.com or go to YouTube, search the Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll should pop up if you want to watch it. And if you want to be a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at the Carroll Connection. We'll set that up. And then I want to plug the 5 Pillars of Creating Meaningful Life, only available on Amazon. Please buy it, read it, review it, submit the review on Amazon. It goes a long way with the algorithm, and I would appreciate all that. So that brings me to today's episode 208 with Randy Phillips.
Hey, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Absolutely. And we had a great pre-interview and we're talking. I was like, I got to start recording. We're saying so many good things that we got to start talking. So how I like to start the podcast, a little bit of who you are and what you're doing currently.
All right. So my name is Randy Phillips. I go by Coach Randy. I currently coach girls flag high school football at Johnston. I coach tackle too as well. So those are the 2 things that I'm currently focusing on. And I also do training on side for girls flag football as well.
Perfect. And we're going to get into all of that and talk about girls flag football and the importance of that and bringing out the awareness, especially as we go through the podcast. But for the audience, how I like to start the podcast is talk about family dynamic. And I was kind of telling you a little bit off air of kind of the structure of what I go through. And for the audience, if they're unaware of the podcast or new to the podcast, kind of the reason I do this is we're talking about life stories. And I think it's important to highlight these things to kind of see where you come from. And I've always used like the cliche of like, if you're going to build a house, like the foundation is the first place you kind of start. And when I talk about foundation, we talk about family, we talk about upbringing. So with that being said, if you could go into your family dynamic, and it's kind of with whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
All right. So I come from Boston. I went to school in Boston, and then my mom ended up coming to Rhode Island. Basically my brothers and sisters, we migrated from Boston to Rhode Island, and we basically have a somewhat of a tight relationship. I mean, we check up on each other here and there, but it's not to where it's a tight knit, which I would like to have it to been, but unfortunately it's not. So we're more or less of like loners in that sense. And like I said, I still love my brothers and sisters, but it's not that tight bond that that some families do have.
Makes a lot of sense, and appreciate you for getting into that, because I think it's important to establish that and just see where everyone's coming from and the relationships they have with their parents, and to discuss that at least. So transitioning a little bit, where we get into some of the good stuff now, is starting to talk about sports, childhood traumas. Thinking about last week. Childhood like hobbies, things like that, like how you made friends. So if you could go into that, that'd be great.
I used a lot of sports growing up. I was the kid that was fast. I can jump high. I can do a lot of good things athletically. And we can touch on a story. I used to go to school in Cape Cod. My mom said, you know what, Boston's a little rough at the time. So I took a middle school 8th grade in Cape Cod, moved in with my grandmother, and realistically, I was the one of the few black kids in the complex, and I played a lot of basketball growing up, and I played football as well. And the kids gravitated towards me because I was athletic, played on the middle school team, and I made a lot of good friends through sports. Sports helped me break the barriers of not being so shy because I didn't rely on, oh well, Michael's not with me, so I can't do this or that. I said, hey, if somebody wants me to play, or if they want me to play pickup, or they want to call my name, I'm gonna go play. And that was good to break those not social media, I'm sorry, those social boundaries, because a lot of kids, they don't want to do anything nowadays because Sarah's not doing it, Michelle's not doing it.
Yeah, and that's a big problem with, especially, and then you introduce social media, you introduce technology. Like I remember growing up, like I had like Xbox 360 and stuff like that. We had Call of Duty and Modern Warfare, and like even younger, like some of like the early computers and stuff like that with some of the games. I remember playing like I forget what baseball game I used to play on my computer. If it was like 1999 or something. Like dudes look like animated like little figures just like swinging a bat. Like didn't even have Barry Bonds in the game because it's all steroid stuff. Like I just remember playing stuff like that. But like you still went outside and did stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
hop on the bike, go to my neighbor's house, like ride my bike across town as I got older. Like that was like as soon as I got that freedom, like my parents like, all right, you can go with your friends and ride across town because like where I'm located was like the central part of Seekonk. It's either kids lived in the south end or they lived in the north end. It's like it's a good drive either way, and I was kind of away from everyone, so like getting that freedom to actually go out and hang with kids. But like we did that, went outside and did all that stuff, or got together and played pickup football or played pickup basketball, or like I remember going to my cousins, like, and I always love the fact that I grew up with my cousins. They're like the same age, and we kind of had the same friend groups, and we'd always go play like basketball together. I remember we made ball Thursdays like a thing. We'd go play basketball, get like I don't know. There was points where we're getting like 20 kids just come to like my cousin's house to play basketball, and then we'd go to like TGI Fridays or something, and just like make a whole thing about it. It's like, and it looking back on it, it's like not so much of just playing the sport, but like the relationships that it's creating. Like, and we were talking about this like off air of like going through something with people. And a lot of the times that sports teach that. And even when you're just playing like pickup and stuff like that, like there is adversity in that. Like, especially when you're competitive with your friends, like you want to win, you want to be able to talk trash to your friends and like have that advantage over them and like hold it over them when you're going to class and stuff. Like, I beat you this weekend and like continue with that. And I feel like now with this new generation, like everything is competitive, but it's almost to like where this the participation trophy where everyone has to win, and it crosses that boundary where like not everyone's gonna win, and you shouldn't be praised for just playing. Like it's great, especially when they're younger. I think it's a
Yeah,
little bit more
yeah.
acceptable because you want them to keep playing and learn these skills. But as you get older, it's like those middle school and high school, like this is where things should get a little bit more serious, a little bit more intense, where you need to be more engaged as an athlete and like understand that if you're not good enough, you're not gonna play. And if you want to play, you have to work harder. Like there's like this talent, the argument of like talent and hard work. Like there's always going to be those talented kids that are just good and like naturally gifted. But like I wasn't one of those kids. Like I really had to work extremely hard. I'm a short dude. Like I had to work really hard. I played linebacker, I played receiver, I played running back. I like to hit. Like that was something that I prided myself on was like no matter who it was on the team, like could be the best player. Like I'm still going against him. And like I had to work to become the best player and like one of the better players, I should say. And shout out to puberty. Puberty was like a huge help with that. Like I was not like a stocky kid at all. I was not quick. I started off as like a lineman when I was a kid. I was one of those out.
Everybody's a lineman,
Yeah,
brother.
I was one of those dudes. Just
Everybody's a
like,
lineman.
this kid's like, stick him on the line. We'll figure out we're playing. And then over time, like I started to develop those skills because like I wanted to get better. Like I actually cared about the sport. And I don't know if everyone nowadays with this younger generation has those traits. And like obviously there's so many different media forces coming at them where it's interesting. So like I think it's like really great to like hear from your point of view of kind of like the sports and stuff like that and where
Yeah,
you've kind of
and,
grew up.
and I do want to touch on something. You brought a good point because back then, we rode bikes. I remember coming from Central Falls. If anybody knows Higginson and Central Falls or the Burger King is, I lived in that area and we had to ride a bike to Sacred Heart in Pawtucket to go play basketball. And it was one of those experiences where you had your cousin, you had your boys, you go and there's like maybe 20 dudes on the court and you got next. And it was just one of those things where you just did it and you had fun. And I think that's a lost art because the reality is our kids are not going outside nowadays. They're not going to getting scraped knees. They're not riding long bike distance. It's very hard for me to get my nephews and my nieces to get off the tablet. And I say, go outside, go find salamanders, lift up rocks, go explore, and again, sports help me do that. I used to go to neighborhoods that I wasn't supposedly not wanted on, but I played good basketball. So they said, hey, listen, come play over here. You can play on my team. I'd show up to play, tackle football in Central Falls. And they said, yo, come play over here. And you built friends and you built relationships. And I got a gang of stories with my cousin. We were a day apart born together. And we would just go to different courts and just 2-on-2 and beat everybody. but those are memories that we grow, and I was just had those are good experience. So I'm glad you touched on that because I didn't even really think about how important it is. Because nowadays they're not going to the courts to play basketball; they're going to the Y. The Y has AC. Everything is nice and beautiful. We played on that hot turf, not turf. I'm sorry, the Astra, the heat, the concrete. It was rough out there. So
Yeah, crack courts, they don't fix the
and
nets are
double
double
rims.
rim. I was just about to say broken nets, metal nets, like
Yeah, and then the ice cream truck roll out. You get,
yeah,
hey, I need a
got
dollar.
the Pilates
But
pulling up and
yeah, man,
everything.
no, and those are so, it was a good thing you brought that up,
Yeah,
man.
it's just like the way that people grow up now is just so
Oh,
vastly different in the way that they're being raised and everyone and I'm not gonna like criticize people's parenting skills because I'm not a parent and like I can only go off of the way I was raised and the way
yeah,
that my like cousins were raised and stuff like that and just seeing the way that people are raising their kids now like the easy thing to do is to introduce technology and allow them to use that
and
like
then you
and
say, here you go. I don't, hey, where's your tablet at? No, but again, I didn't grow
yeah,
up with a
it
tablet.
also like it's where we talk about like we could talk about social media addiction and phone addiction. Like it's the dopamine. We rarely talk about this in society. Like people will talk about it, joke about it, like haha, like I'm addicted to my phone. Like no, like we are like I am too, like severely addicted to my phone. Like
Yeah,
and like it's one of those things like how could you not be? Especially if you look at it growing up, we have a supercomputer in our pockets at all times that can look up anything now with AI. You go on Google, it'll summarize all the points of like a thing that you might want to look into. It gives you all of that like that. You don't have to even read the articles. It just gives you it. Like we don't appreciate how far we've come with technology, but we also don't look at what this could be doing to people and especially kids. Like I think it's important to introduce technology because like they're going to be it's there's no way to avoid it. Like this is where our society is and this is where it's going. But to get outside though, to introduce these things, to play sports, like to get hurt, like you need these things. It builds character. Like I know it sounds cliche, but like there's so many things that we're kind of like erasing from society and I don't know how detrimental it's going to be until like we're another like 10, 15, 20 years in the future when those kids are now adults and they don't know how to deal with adversity and obviously we'll get into this as you're a coach and you've experienced coaching and like you've been more like engaged with the youth and stuff like that so like I'll be interested to pick your brain a little bit of kind of like the difference in the way we kind of grew up versus them but I'm interested to know like what was your favorite sport growing up.
I mean, I played a lot of basketball. I grew up in Roxbury, and we had a court right next to the house, and I played a lot of basketball. And I was actually pretty good as a youth because that's all we did. Football didn't get introduced until my freshman year of high school. So I went to Dorchester High.
Yeah,
So
let's get into the high school phase. I'm interested in this. Yeah.
so Dorchester High. If anybody knows Boston, Dorchester. Have you ever seen that movie Lean on Me? With
Mm,
Joe Clark. Well, if you haven't seen
yeah, I
Lean
probably
on
have
Me
to
with
see it
Joe
now.
Clark, it was a very bad school. There was things happening in the cafeteria, drugs being sold. It would be like a typical rap video: girls braiding guys' hairs. You had the big kingpins, and you had people there, and it was a very scary time because I'm this eighth grader coming into this new school, and mom's like, "Yeah, you gotta go to Dorchester High," and I'm like, "What?" So, long story short, I ended up making friends on the football team, and those guys had my back. We're talking about I was a freshman, and these guys, these old 11th graders, 12th graders, nobody messed with me because I was part of the football team, and I was good. So these dudes, they had my back, and I ended up starting before I left to Rhode Island. I ended up starting a varsity game at running back and corner. But again, it's sports that kind of helped me gain confidence and build a somewhat of a small family while I was there at the moment. But I would say if sports wasn't there, I mean, it's scary enough being by yourself, but you don't have mom and dad. You can't go, and I had the football team. It was a good experience on that end.
Yeah, and with sports and like having that team atmosphere, like kids are mean. Like
They
people
really,
and especially nowadays, they're more blunt than ever before. Like they think they like we were joking about this like earlier, but like they think they know more because they have access to more. So they're just like they've seen more a little bit on social media or online. Like they have access to these things. So by perception, they might believe that they know everything or they're smarter than you. But experience is always gonna be super important as you grow up and live life. But not having people to rely on in like especially like high school and stuff can be extremely I mean, we're seeing that the mental illness, especially with students, and
Yeah.
since especially post COVID, like is skyrocketing in like the loneliness epidemic and the way that people don't know how to interact and create like connections or create relationships, not even romantic, just like friendships. Like that is a very scary thing where these kids don't have those skills. And what sports does, it breaks all barriers. Like you can come from any background, but if you get on that same field and you're in the same locker room, you're sweating with these dudes, you're bleeding with these dudes, you're going to practice every single day with these dudes, like you build a brotherhood with that. It doesn't matter where they come from, what they believe in. Like you're there for a one purpose, a singular mission, and you don't get that from a bunch of different activities. Like sports, especially football, teaches that and will force that whole like, I'm gonna take care of you. Like I got your back. And that is something that for me, I don't feel like a lot of other sports. Obviously I'm biased.
Ah.
But I don't think a lot of other sports can do it the way that football does it. Cause just the physicality of the game and like you really need other people for football. Before flag football really was becoming a big thing, you could play tackle and stuff like that, but like you have a couple people, like it's fun when you're younger, but like I want to play with like 6-on-6, 7-on-7,
Yeah.
like, and it's hard to get that many people to come play. Even back then, like it was hard to do that. Like I couldn't even imagine trying that now, but like basketball, you can go 1-on-1 and still have a great time. You can go 2-on-2, have a great time. Soccer, you get one person kicking, one person playing net. Like you could do that. Like it's still fun. Football, just playing catch 1-on-1, like three people might work. Like,
No.
but like you need more people, and I think that's for me was always like the big difference with football.
Yeah, and like you said, I remember. See, I'm a little older than you, brother.
Mhm.
But I remember the snow days in Central Falls and Jenks Park, and 10 kids out there, 5-on-5, and then all of a sudden you just see another kid just waiting there for his turn, and that was the glory of just playing tackle football in the snow, and it was, and again, you're bringing back a lot of good memories, but to like what you're saying is, football, it's energy, and I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know how to let the world know, but it's an energy that you can't give to any other sport and you can't get, and I don't want people to be mad, but the reality is I've seen different sports in their environment and element, and I've seen different athletes in their environment and element, and football is one of the ones where you could lose your mind, and that's what I want you to. I want you to take it personal. I want you to go on that field, whether you're tackle or flag, whether you're a boy or a girl. I need you to be dominant as possible. Fortunately, basketball and soccer, and please, people, don't be mad at me, but I've seen it all. I've coached little soccer. The competitive level is there. Don't get me wrong, but for all 11 or all 7 of those people on the field to bring out a beast mode, it's unreal and it's very electric and it's very jaw dropping and very impressive for people to do.
Yeah, and you just see the athleticism of people
Oh
really on
yeah.
display in football. Like, not saying like seeing someone dunk or someone like baseball obviously requires a different like athleticism, or softball. Like it's totally different. But like football is just completely different. You're moving parts of your body that you don't even know that you're moving until you haven't done it for a while and try to do it again. Like it's just a different game, man. And I don't think everyone like appreciates it for what, especially the youth. Like I love being able to like every once in a while get to see some of these athletes play, like especially if they post stuff online. Because like I'm not connected to the youth anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have any younger siblings or nephews or anything like that that play. So like I don't see that anymore. But like to this day, I still look like every once in a while when it's like the fall, I'll go on Twitter and search Seekonk to see what the score was.
Yeah.
Like because I still feel something for that. Like, and I've never been able to replace that. And like even where something like the podcast comes into hand is like football was my identity for so long. So once that disappeared after senior year and Thanksgiving, like I was searching for something forever. And luckily I found the podcast and I created an outlet, but like it leaves a hole in you, man, like that you can't really fill. Like Flag has been able to like replicate that to get the guys together. We're out there and we're playing, but like still to this day, I don't know if I'll do it now, but like I'd love to put on pads and like hit someone again just one more time. Just like
And I'm glad you brought that up because I have those cleat dreams. Basketball players got the hoop dreams. I got the cleat
No,
dreams. And,
I still have. Oh, that's crazy. I
and
still think like like, or my worst one, the nightmares is like I know I'm going to be starting and I'm late and I can't find my stuff. Like I'm in the locker room and I can't get to the field fast enough, and like my coach isn't going to play me. Like I have vivid dreams to this day about playing football.
Yeah, and the good thing is like I'm an OG now. I got bad knees. And like I said, we'll touch on the work stuff,
Hmm.
a little bit later. But I was doing not meaningless work, but I was doing things that I thought were what I wanted. And then when I got into coaching, like it brought that old thing back where I don't know, it just to get that feeling, man. And again, nobody will ever understand unless you play football. So please, other sports, do not think I'm downing any other sport, but I'm just a football guy. And to hear Judgment Day by Method Man before I got on the field, and you're on the bus ride and it's quiet, and the mood is set and coach is just chilling and everybody's in that zone, helmets on, and you pulling up to that field and it's like get everybody and you ooh and I don't know
Even doing the
and
stretches,
yeah,
having
man,
like our own like
and it's
thing.
just one of them things where football, even if you didn't have good hands, you got a job, you're a linebacker, we needed you on fourth down, and you're the kid that made the play. And I think I will say about football is it's a memorable Kodak moment game where it's fourth down, fourth and inches, and we needed it, and somebody reached over the goal line, and we won, and it was that photo memory where we're like, yo, remember when Tommy reached over and unfortunately, again, it's other sports. Don't be mad at me, but it's just so much back and forth where, boom, 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 boom. You have to really go back and really look at, oh, wow, that was a good steal. Oh, that was a good block. And because we're on to the next play. We're on so
Hmm.
fast, we're on to the next one. But football, if it's 7-0 and you got a key stop and they were about to score, we talk about that for years, man. And that individual and that team can say, damn, we did that.
And it's just so much like even just like whether it's the lineman doing something or the defensive line, like there's
Yeah.
so much stuff happening at once that you don't always get to appreciate. And
Yes.
like it's really just the game is art. Like there's so much to it where it's like it teaches so many life lessons that like obviously all sports teach different life lessons, but like the adversity that football will put like teach you, and you have to things that you have to go through. Like I'll never forget even just like days that we got punished for doing something stupid, like bear crawls, like from end zone to end zone,
Yeah.
and like hot summers, like or even like dog weeks before. Like now they don't even really. At least I know
Yeah,
they
tour
don't even
days,
do them
baby.
anymore.
We had tour
I
days.
remember doing 2 days, like people vomiting and like getting sick. Like
Yeah,
they
I
can't
mean,
even like. I think I know Massachusetts. Like you can't even like do certain stuff. Like you have to
yeah,
the restrictions and
Rhode
like.
Island, same thing. It
It's so
has to be a
it's
certain
tough.
time. But you brought that up, and again, I'm early 2000, 2004, and I remember, grabbing my helmet, slapping me in the face, coaches, what the F is wrong with you? And we ate that and we got better because oh shoot, coach is mad. Let me get my stuff together.
That was the standard.
It was a standard. And again, nothing against any other sport, but you know, back then we had that. It was just we were born to be, and we were created to be dogs out there. Leave it all on the field. And again, if you lost, you had to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, "Damn, I did the best I can." You that's what the notion was, and that was the message was, and that's what I'm trying to bring a new generation and a new style of coaching, but with that old school swagger.
Yeah, and I like that, and even just like the message of look. That was like my coach is like because we lost a lot of games. That was like signature of just like you gotta look like especially junior year. Like we were it was new coach, like not everyone was buying in. It was a disaster. But like I knew it was like a modern like offense, like spread, throw the ball. Like he was bringing a whole different thing to the town, and people weren't ready for it. It wasn't for a year until years later.
Would you guys run
We were like
wing tee?
wing T. It was some basic ass shit, man. It was so like they loved that shit, and then finally could spread it out, and didn't always have the right personnel, I'll say,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
right positions, but um, I knew this was the right move for the town, and now they're about it, and it sucks that he ended up being like a scapegoat for like the town, and I like the new regime and like where they're going with it, and they're building it really the right way, but the coach really modernized the game of football in Seekonk, and I just think about that stuff, but always like gotta look yourself in the mirror, man. Like always and like I would legit like go into the mirror in my house and be like think about it and like meditate almost on it. It was like an early form of meditation before I like knew what that was. And like actually like think about the plays that I did. Like, did I try that hard on that play? Like because like there's moments in the game where you're gonna be tired, but
Of
you still have
course.
to keep going. Like, and even when you're losing, you still have to play. You still have to play no matter what. And I think that's one lesson that's severely overlooked.
No, and I'm glad you brought that. There's a lot of things that you bringing up. You cooking right now, baby. So I like that as well because think about it like this, right? Um, if I, as a football coach, don't give my girls, again, I do the high school's flag football. So we're actually on our fifth practice right now. We're conditioning. We don't begin till May. I think we'll get to that later on,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we
we're gonna
don't begin
transition
till
after.
May. So the reality is I have to run my girls' high school flag football program like a boys' tackle football program so they can get every bit of ounce of everything they need. If I cut corners, if I don't do this, and obviously we're not tackling, we're pulling flags, but these girls have to understand that if it's fourth quarter, who's gonna score? Who's gonna make that play? Just like when we do with our tackle boys, who's gonna who's gonna step up? Because at the end of the day, if you look in the mirror and you say, "Damn, I did everything I can," I will respect you. Hey, good job, kid. But film don't lie, brother. How many times have you watched film and Michael's, not fully blocking, or he didn't do a proper kick step, or there was a offsides that could have won you the game, or just something of that caliber. And I think, the old school me is trying to figure out, okay, how do I reverse Jedi mind trick this individual to do what I need them to do and for them to be successful? Because the thing is, I can tell you what I want you to do and you can do it. But my thing is, we got to do it right. So again, with my girls, it's conditioning now. They don't like running. I want you to like running because we're gonna be running.
Mm.
Now, when you make a mistake or something like that, or we're not doing something right, I prefer to do planks. I prefer to do something that's gonna. Oh no, I'd rather you run. I want you to run. Running is fun. We are football players. We run just like in soccer. You run. You don't want your players to go. Oh, we gotta run. We win. No, no. I want you to say, "Let's go, coach. I'm going all night. It's fourth quarter. I'm going all night."
It's teaching that stuff, and I even the did I just lose it? It was something. Oh, it's gonna piss me off. I literally just had it. Oh, what was it, dude? It was something related to what you just said. I'm gonna be pissed when I remember it. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
transition.
yeah.
It was something you just said. Damn. Oh no, I lost it. It was so funny, but we'll just keep going. I want to start transitioning into kind of like that post high school, like where you're going after that. Like, did you go to college? Did you not go to college? Walk me through that path, and we'll lead into how you got into
No,
coaching.
I got you. So after high school, I mean, I didn't get my GED till I was 26. I was just not doing nothing. I worked at Wendy's, Abercrombie and Fitch, Hollister. I just kind of wasn't doing nothing. Just I wanted to be. I rode the rapper wave for a little bit. Because I'm a good poet, whatever the case is, but none of those things brought me anywhere. Like, I just slowly had to start gaining experience through different jobs. Worked at Renaissance a little bit, worked at errands, and then until I finally found Stericycle, which I actually did great and I excelled, became a operations supervisor, so on and so forth. So I really didn't do much until I became an adult. Once I became an adult, that's when I kind of started putting the pieces together on what I want to do and where should I go.
Yeah, and then at what point did you decide to start pivoting to start looking at maybe coaching is the thing for me? Like, when did you start experience like you kind of missing that love for the game again and getting back into it?
That's a good question because what ended up happening was I was working at Stericycle, and then my sister-in-law said, "Hey, Roman needs a coach to help out for a 6U flag football." Now, I didn't know anything. I'm a good teacher, but coaching is a different world because everybody can say they coach, but not everybody's a good coach. Everybody can teach, but not everybody's a good teacher. So 6-year-olds, and I know they're doing this, they're picking up, you gotta hold that attention span. So when I really started trying to understand the mind of a 6-year-old, the mind of a 7-year-old, that's when I said, you know what, this might be the avenue. Because to see them run a pro style offense, we're talking about flag, to see them succeed, to see them achieve and win or lose, they learn something and they're having fun. So I said, damn, this might be it for me. And then from that point, I went on to 8U tackle football. And I just kept going from there, climbing the ladders from 8U tackle football to getting an opportunity at Central Falls High School. Shout out to Coach Jeff Lapierre. That's my dog. That's my mentor. He's like my dad. And he's what I kind of emulate my style of coaching to. Because we talked about this off camera. I didn't tell you this story though. So in Central Falls, we had to set up our field. So me and Coach Jeff were setting up the field. Have you ever been to Central Falls? Maycomber is next to the jail.
Yes, I played there. There was games I'll never forget. I can't remember.
Yeah.
There's one dude, man, that played for Central Falls. Because we played, I remember we got moved into a division. We had to play Central Falls and Edgewood.
Yeah.
And man, this dude was number one, and I'd never seen a dude so big in my life. Like, luckily, because we played, I think it was like junior midgets, then midgets were playing.
Yeah.
And we played like a close game, and then the midgets were playing, and they were severely undersized against Central Falls. I remember one of the best players on Seacon, dude, got laid out by someone, and we were like, oh shit. Like, this is gonna be a long day for them. Watched a couple plays, and just a different game. Like, these dudes were on a different level. But yeah, I remember just pulling up, seeing the jail. I'm like, where the hell are we? Like,
and that's what happens. But I think Central Falls gave me a lot of character. And that's why I began my coaching journey, and that's why I began my, coaching career with Coach Jeff. So the story, we were at the stadium, and we're setting up, and again, we have to do everything ourselves because we didn't have the luxury of having help or whatever. But that's no big deal. Me and Coach Jeff out there doing our thing. So a guy pulls up. Now, mind you, we're on like the field. If anybody knows CF, we're on the warehouse side. The jail's on the left hand side. That's the streets over there. There's fences. There's a whole bunch of shenanigans in our way. So this guy goes, Coach Jeff! And we're like, oh, who the hell is that? Yo, I miss you. And come to find out, it's a former player. And Coach Jeff was like, yeah, hey, how you doing? And blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'm going to come back around to see you. Coach Jeff was like, who the hell was that? I said, I don't know, but he knows your name. Coach Jeff made an impact on that man's life, where he drove by, he stopped, he got out the car, he made it a point to yell across the field. And from that moment, I said, damn, that's the impact I need. That's the kind of coach I want to be. That is the respect that I want from the community. And it's not that I want it, but I want to be able to change somebody's life like Coach Jeff did. And Coach Jeff did a lot of remarkable things for the kids in CF football team, from taking them to, and this is off subject. You got me going, brother. So
no, we're doing good in time. So
he took kids college trips. He loaded them up in a truck. Hey, we're going to UMass Dartmouth. I want you guys to see what a college atmosphere is like. We're going to Bryant. I want you to see what it's like. You need to go to the doctors. Your mom can't. We're gonna go to we're gonna get that checked out. Whatever you needed, Coach Jeff was that guy. And he had a family. He has daughters, a wife. He has a full-time job. But the thing is, he was very selfless in that area because, again, that's who he was. And I said, damn, I read the John Wooden book. We talked about that earlier. Actually, I listened to it. I'm sorry. And being around Coach Jeff and just embracing and taking all this in, analyzing his view. He's a defensive guy, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know if I wanted to be offense. I didn't want to be defense. But Coach Jeff said, "Hey, come here. For my first year, I want you on the defensive side with me, son." I said, "Okay." And I got to understand a defense, X's and O's, what the safety does, what the corner does, what the linebacker stunts are, what the alignment stunts are, how to wreak havoc and hell on an offense. And Coach Jeff was the guy, and I was with him, and we were together like father and son for 2 years. And I really learned, and I really got to tap in on how to get an individual to do what you need them to do without up and down, without yelling at them. Of course, we're going to get heated. Of course, it's going to happen. But you got to also remember that they're children. We're putting a lot of responsibilities on a 16-year-old's plate when they got girlfriends, they got work, they got a lot of things happening. But a great coach is going to figure out how to make it work. A good leader is a great listener. And that's something that Coach Jeff, gave me a little bit of. But I'll let you go. I can ramble, but I'm going to let you go.
No, that's really good, though, that you actually were trying to learn this stuff and seeing that actual, like, real life impact. And I think that's kind of like the overarching, like, concept and point of doing a podcast is trying to connect with people and highlight the things that they do, because a lot of us are on a similar mission, just in different areas. And what I've learned over the years of doing this is like people do want to help other people. They do want to inspire people. They want to make change. And a lot of the time it's just sometimes they need the light on them. They need the light shined on them. And how I look at myself is like trying to shine light on people like yourself who are doing things, who are trying to make a difference in their communities and trying to like make impact. And I think a lot of times with social media, there's so much content out there, there's so much oversaturation that you don't always get to hear this stuff when something like this is like real life. We've all played sports like throughout our lives, and we all have coaches that made impacts, positive or negative.
Yeah.
And I think we need more people that want to be coaches that also want to be good coaches, and we don't have enough of that right now.
No, and again, it's not that they're not good. I just think that they really have to sit down and check off boxes, personal boxes. Like, what do you want from coaching? What are you trying to get out of coaching? What are you trying? What mission? What area you trying to get to? Because you brought up a point of a good coach is going to find out what their athlete wants, what they're trying to get out of it, and what makes them tick. Now, the good thing about Coach Jeff was he didn't give a damn who you are. You could be a D1 recruit. You can be the best player on a team. You can catch the ball with two fingers. He don't give a damn. He's going to treat you the same as he's going to treat little Johnny with Coke bottle glasses. It doesn't matter. Everybody gets treated the same. Everybody gets the same level of respect. Everybody gets that same attention and approach. All right, little Johnny, you're going to get the same thing. We're going to big you up just like we'll big up number one. We're going to teach you lessons just like we're going to teach. You're not going to roll into practice. Well, I was at practice one day and this kid rolls in, nasty, nasty. And Coach Jeff is, hey, look at the superstar. And for the whole practice, Coach Jeff's just kind of give him little jabs because, again, you're not bigger than the team. All right. Just like you said earlier, football is a sport where we need each other. We need each other. I'm not saying basketball doesn't need each other. I'm not saying any other sport, but it's a bond where we're grinding, we're running sprints, we're going over plays. Everybody has to know where they're going. All right, the timing is everything. Unfortunately, in other sports, you guys just go as you're going. Okay, you set up plays, you do all that stuff. But football, it's down, set, one offsides. Guess what happens? 5 yard. That counts for a lot. So the good thing again about Coach Chef was everybody was held to the same standards. Everybody was held to this, from the biggest to the littlest, from the most athletic to the non-athletic, because everybody had to feel like they belong. That's how a team works. All right. If you have people that are picking on the people that are not good, that's a horrible dynamic. That's horrible, because what if something happens and you need that person that you picked on? That kid's going to say, F this, I don't want to play for you guys. And that's the same thing I do for my girls' high school team. All right. Once they step onto that field, I say, leave that malarkey outside of you guys are sisters. You're going to figure it out. You're going to ride together. You're going to go hard for one another, and you're going to respect each other. When you guys leave, I hope you figure out your differences. But when you're on this field together, you guys are sisters.
Yeah, and I've had coaches, especially there was a baseball coach at the high school. He's a good coach and stuff like that, and I was arguably probably a better baseball player than I was at football for a
Yeah.
while. But I think it was like sophomore year. If you didn't play Legion ball, you can't play varsity, and then it
Oh, I
gets
don't
into
want to get into that,
politics.
brother.
And I'm like, I was like, honestly, fuck that. Like, I'm not doing all that. Like, I knew like I was good. I just played like rec ball and played all stars, and like all stars is fun. Like that, you can go like. I have a whole story. We could have went all the way up to like Maine, and we got into this thing, and just this whole thing. But like, I like to be like kind of selfless when I'm playing. Like I want to play the team sport. Like I want to do what the team needs. Like I might feel like I'm faster than the next player, but like if you need this person to do this, they can do that. I'll do this. Like I don't care where I'll play,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I don't care where I'll play. Like I just want to play,
Yeah.
and like I'll do it. Like especially on like an all-star team, like you have like the best of the best in the league, and someone's still got to play right field.
Yeah.
Like I'll play right field. I don't care. Like I'll make it my job to play right field. Like I don't care where I'll play. I just want to make the difference. And with baseball at that time, there's too much politics. Like in a lot of sports nowadays, there's very like a lot of politics. But I was like, screw that. I'll just dedicate all my time to football. And I was one of the few guys in the weight room with the coach, and I ended up being a captain. Like, cause like I grinded my ass off to be a part of that culture, and I bought into it right away. And that's an example of just like how coaching makes a difference. Like, ruined baseball for me. Like, I don't even care about baseball anymore, to be honest. Like, as soon as I ended All Stars and it was over, like, never thought twice about baseball. And I love baseball. Like, I
Yeah, yeah,
remember growing
yeah.
up, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, like that was like the shit. Dustin Pedroia, like those days, like baseball was everything. And this is part of the reason the sport's dying. Like, they don't put enough like effort into like marketing and stuff like that. But this is where you're making real impacts. Like, at an age where it's very crucial. Like, I should have played baseball my whole high school career, but I didn't. And it's nice to hear that you're working on those skills to try to interact with all these kids and learning that it does matter. Like, you could be the difference whether that kid has a great day or a really shitty day. Like, you make the difference. And especially in those middle school, high school like areas, like it's crucial. You don't know what the teacher said to them. You don't know what another classmate said to them. You don't know what's going on. They come on that field, you can make it. That's the family. Like, you can bring them in. You could talk to them. You can actually make impact, and you don't always get that with like every single sport. It's a lot more. It's gonna sound weird, but intimate on a football field.
And again, I'm not. I'm going according to what I see and what I know and what I've witnessed. Okay. Again, there's programs that only focus on the stars. And again, I'm not knocking anybody's coaching styles or methods or philosophies, but from what I've learned through, Coach Jeff, shout out to Tom Centori from Cranston, shout out to Joey Achado. Those are my current coaches now. They're like uncles to me. Again, those first interviews that I had with Joe Achado, he said, "How are you with players?" And I said, from Coach Jeff, I've learned all these things. We got to be personable. We got to learn everybody's name. We have to learn everybody's name. We got to at least try to remember one thing that resonates with that player. Hey, how's mom doing? Sammy, mom's doing good. Hey, I heard you had that big test today. It can't just be sports, 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 sports. Think about it like this. If I'm a member, so think about it like this. We're in football, and I just repeated myself. There's a lot of stuff happening. The wheels are turning. But think about it. I'm a black guy with a beard, and I got the Tom the Tom Collins damn, I forgive Mike Tomlin got his glasses on. As a kid who don't know me, you're gonna be intimidated. I gotta break that barrier. I gotta be able to say, "What's up, man? Blah blah blah. What's your name?" And I gotta remember things about you so you can feel comfortable. So you're gonna want to play the sport. Now, imagine if I didn't know your name and I just looked past you. You're gonna say, "F that. I don't want to play this game." I'm not gonna name the school, but that happened to my nephew. My nephew was 6'4". This is when he was a junior. 6'4", 350 something pounds. When he was on a 3-point stance, he was like a bear. He got one opportunity to play, and they didn't have a JV program. There was no grooming him. You can teach the game of football, but you can't teach size. This kid was a monster, a woolly mammoth of a man. He didn't know his true strength, but nobody took the time out to develop him. So there was days at practice that he's hands in his pants, like the boys do, just looking around, just chit chatting, while they only focused on varsity. He didn't come back senior year because he said, I tried it and it wasn't for me. And they got a new coach and they got a new program, and I told him to do it again. But again, those things matter. When you pay attention to the kids and you give a little bit of yourself to the kids, and there's a line obviously we don't cross, but if the kid feels like, yo, Coach Randy knows my name, now that whole day changed for him. Now he might go a little harder in practice. He might try to prove a little bit more because the coaches acknowledged him. So again, these are things that I've learned from, Coach Jeff, Coach Tom, Coach Joe. You gotta be more personal with the kids. Learn the names at least. And even if they get on your nerves, you still gotta give it. They're children. Our job is to teach them. Our job is to mold them because they're children still.
Yeah, and this is like their learning grounds to be adults. Like, the stuff that they learn on this field will translate into adult life. And a lot of times,
And they're gonna remember these
yeah,
things.
a lot of times people forget that when they're coaching, and obviously emotions are high and stuff happens. But what you just said reminded me of something my coach. I'll never forget. There's like this other kid on the team that was like six something, and I mean he was all right. He wasn't like anything special, but I remember it was just me, him, and my coach. And you remember he looked at me and he's like, Jared, you're the size of, I'm not gonna say the person's name, but if you're the size of this person, you probably go playing at Boston College right now. I'm like, coach, I know, like I'm fucking small. Like I work hard, I like try to do the right things, like but like goes to the point you can't teach size. Like the certain like I knew from an early age, like I had a ceiling, like that I wasn't gonna be able to crack that. And like I probably could have played college ball. Like I could have scrapped my way onto a
Yeah.
team and figured it out, but like at a certain point I'm like, what am I playing this game for? Like I don't wanna like keep hitting my head against dudes that are gonna be massive at this point if I'm going to the college level. Like
Yeah.
it's not worth it at that point. And probably wouldn't play as much. I'm like, certain point you hang it up, but that just made me think of that. I do want to take the like kind of like the final pivot to when did you make the transition to start looking into girls flag football and leaving kind of like boys football?
All right, so I'm so for full transparency, I'm still coaching boys in the fall. I'm still involved with the program heavily. Um, Girls is in the spring, so that's
Okay,
an
that makes
easier
yeah.
transition. So, what ended up happening was we're talking about 2023. It's November, halftime. I'm with Johnston at this point, and we're grabbing our clipboards, we're going over to our corners and all that good stuff. And I look over and I see a cheerleaders playing catch, and they're laughing and they're having fun. And I said, damn, that looks pretty fun. Just the idea of having fun again. And again, don't get me wrong. I love my boys. I have fun, but as a coach, you want to be challenged again, and I'm not saying I know everything. Don't get me, I'm still learning. Football is an ever learning sport. I still have my mentors I reach out to. I still have a lot to learn because without boys tackle, I don't become a phenomenal girls flag football coach, just an FYI. So there's a lot of things I'm still learning. But I just wanted to try a different avenue because it's an untapped source that nobody's been tapping into. So I ended up joining the program. Not going to say their name, but it wasn't the vision that I had. So I said, you know what? Let me, focus more on the high school level of the thing. And I ended up me and my athletic director got together and we said, why don't we do a girls high school flag football tournament? So I said, why not? So me and him ended up putting the first ever girls high school flag football tournament in May. We had some Patriot players come down and it was a phenomenal event. And we had no expectations because we're thinking, oh, we're gonna put it together and see what it looks like. When I tell you people said that was the best $5 they ever spent, because we ended up donating the winning team of the tournament donated a check to any women's charity they wanted to. The stands were full. So in that tournament, we had Central Falls, North Providence, St. Ray's, Times 2 Academy, obviously Johnston and Mount Hope. We ended up losing to North Providence by one point. I don't even want to talk about that. But ultimately, for me, it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about putting something together for these girls to touch uncharted territory. And once we did that, brother, I said to myself, you know what? We can't stop at just the tournament. The tournament was great. I said, I have to put a league together for these girls. I have to do something else because think about it like this, right? You had a T-bone steak. Next week, you want to go back and get another one, but ain't got no more T-bones. So now what you going to do? You're going to eat something else. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that because once we take the attention, once we take that off, the foot off the gas, now these girls are going to kind of drift off and disappear in La La Land. I said, that June, I did the first ever girls flag football league AAU in Rhode Island. I had 30 some odd girls from high school to middle school. Now that sounds crazy, but the reality is their skill level is the same because flag football is not a big thing in high school. In Rhode Island in general, a lot of the 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, they have way more flag football experience than these girls at the high school level. So that ended up being a hit. I got a lot of positive reviews, a lot of positive feedback on the Diamonds on the Gridiron. So then at that point, me and my athletic director, I love him, Justin. Shout out to Justin Erickson, man. Without him, none of this happens. He put the battery in my back, and we ran with this thing full self head of steam. I had the first woman to coach at the NFL, Jen Welter. She came down. We did the first camp in Rhode Island for girls flag football. I had to give that shout out because again, she put awareness to it. She's a big time, celebrity dealing with a lot of when she played tackle football too. She was collecting $12 checks, brother. And this is back in early days. But so then what ended up happening is we said, let's put a trial league together. Let's see if anybody's interested. Long story short, we have 12 teams now that are interested in our trial league. So me and Justin are on the verge of getting the sport sanctioned in 2027. So that's kind of like why I put the emphasis on it because these girls want to play the game. It just takes somebody that wants to put a lot of time in. I'm not getting paid for none of this, brother. But when I see a girl catch a fade route, when you see a girl, a lefty quarterback throwing darts, when you see these things happen and you're like, we have to harness this ability. We have to harness this. We have to create it. We have to build her up because this is our young queens in our community. These are girls coming up. Football is going to teach them. We talked about this earlier. Respect, confidence. There's a big confidence issue within our girls in our community, and football is going to give it to you. Over the summer, I had girls who were speaking like Minnie Mouse, not nice. Now they're loud and proud and chest out high, and they're not afraid to be themselves, and they're grasping who they are, and they're letting the world know this is who I am. You know that term, "I am woman, hear me raw." A lot of girls did that over the summer, so that's more or less of why I focused a lot of what I do towards the girls' flag football now.
And I think that's awesome because it's like you said, it's like charted territory. Like it's like this whole untapped thing where you think about football, you think about the physicality, like how we can't do that for girls sport. It's like and I think about like growing up, like a lot of the stereotypes is like don't cry, like you don't want to be a little girl, like all this stuff. And it's like crazy because I've seen girls play football in the town and like one of the better football players I've ever seen, Cameron Garabian, shout out to her, has been on the podcast. Like fantastic athlete, arguably one of the better players on the team when she was playing. Went on for a college career doing shot put. Like fantastic thing, and like it's just a stereotype that existed like obviously before us, and then coaches were like obviously introducing that, and it goes into the whole stereotype of man up, and we it's a different
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
But like
yeah.
they can do it too. They just need the opportunities, and I think what you're doing is bringing the awareness, bringing the attention to that, and it lights this passion of helping people, and it doing it in a way that's completely different than like the normal go coach like boys football and teach them all of this and X, Y, and Z. And like obviously there's always going to be a path for that. Like people are always going to want to play football. Like it's one of the biggest sports in the country, but this is a completely different thing with like flag football going to be in the Olympics, like the NFL being more pushing towards this. You see like when they bring out all the flag football kids on like the fields for like Super Bowls and stuff like that, or like championship games or Pro Bowls, like flag football is coming because the NFL also knows like how dangerous the game is and parents see that. So the numbers in football, they have to be seeing this, otherwise they wouldn't be pushing it.
Yeah.
Were declining, and people are aware of the concussions. Like obviously, the whole concussion movie with Will Smith like several years ago brought a lot of awareness to this stuff, and whether it's true or not for all that stuff, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the attention's there for football and concussions and injuries and the physicality. But flag football is completely different, and you get a lot of the same values from flag football that you do at football. Obviously, there's different levels to it, but I think what you're doing is bringing something completely new, especially to the area. And I thought that was like a great message. Obviously, when we were talking like off podcast and even in the messages trying to get you on the pod about putting this out there, getting the message out there, and obviously the timing is really important for you. And I'm kind of interested though too with like how you made the transition with coaching. Like obviously you still coach the boys, but like
Yeah.
the difference in style, like how to make that, because like you started off with super young like
Yeah,
children,
yeah, yeah.
and then going into like high school boys where it's like chaotic, to making the transition to like coaching women. Like how did that transition happen, and like maybe some of the learning curves that you had to do, because obviously you have to communicate sometimes differently with different people.
Yeah, so I think overall I kind of prepared myself in a sense of just getting small coaching advice. And again, Joe Chado, that's my Uncle Joe, whatever. He kind of paved the way because he's actually a physical education teacher at Johnston High School, so he knows a lot of these girls. So he actually gave me a lot of good pointers and a lot of good tips because again, as a male coach, you have to be very mindful of a lot of things and things. Again, these are uncharted territories for me, so I need to be successful in this, and I got to make sure that I'm putting out the right image and I'm doing the right things and I'm saying the right things. So remember, the children at the end of the day, boy, they're still children. So the perception of what a child hears, you have to be full transparent. I need you to walk through that door. There's nothing, you know what that means, but you can't go, hey, when you get a chance, walk through that door. Oh, well, he said when I get a chance. So you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be direct. So a lot of things he gave me, a lot of tools he gave me. And again, the females are a lot different because yes, they're very tough mentally. Yes, their pain threshold is a lot different. Their mindset. But we have to be mindful of how we talk, and we have to be mindful of words we use. Because again, with the boys, you can say crazy things and get away with it. But girls, you gotta understand, oh shoot, your brain's always gotta be thinking of what you say. You can have a lot of fun with them, don't get me wrong, but there's certain areas that you gotta be very sensitive of and know what to say. And I learned some things my first time around. I nothing crazy, nothing bad, but just kind of like, okay, next time. We don't say that, we don't do that. And again, I didn't do nothing wrong. It's just things that you catch. Oh shit, you really said that? But again, and you build these relationships, and girls are more you got to be a lot more compassionate. Like you can't I can't yell at you and force you to do something, or get mad because you didn't do it the right way. You don't know, you've never played this game before. So now what I do, and this would be a tip for a lot of coaches, you have to use references into what gets them to think about something. So, and for instance, Nicki Minaj, she has a song called On Her Tippies. So as a defensive back, we have to be on our tippy toes as we're backpedaling. So when I, yell to the girls, Nicki Minaj, and they recite it back to me, that's how I know they're paying attention. Shakira, hips don't lie. As a DB, you got to watch those hips. So I say, ladies, what does Shakira say? The hips don't lie, but they all recite it because I know they're paying attention. So there's a lot of things that I use. Again, I need this to be fun for them. I don't want to be a drill sergeant. Of course, I'm stern on them. There's times where I'm stern, but the voice is projected as not as you're doing something wrong or you need to. It's more of, hey, we got to get that next time. So again, I don't do that more or less with the boys because again, the boys, the expectation is for them to understand it. We gotta give them boys get a little bit more tough love, a little bit more. But again, it's all within moderation. I'm not gonna disrespect the boys just like I wouldn't disrespect the girls. Because think about it like this: when you do have kids, you want a coach that's gonna figure out how to tap in. You don't want a coach to disrespect your kids. You don't want a coach to make your kids feel bad. Quick sidebar story. My nephew's a quarterback. I brought him to a lot of QB camps, Rhode Island Football Academy shout out that's gonna be happening this summer. I brought him there twice, and he's training to be a quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but the team that he was playing for before, coach says you're gonna play whatever I want you to play, and if I don't want you to play quarterback, you're not gonna play quarterback. You don't tell a child that. There's a lot of ways and that's another key point. Watch how you say things because things are going to be taken very literal of it. Things are going to be taken very loosely. You tell that kid, hey, listen, I want you to be a quarterback, but there's a lot of things we got to work on because ultimately there's somebody else trying to take your job. That was a lot easier than me saying, you're not going to do that because when I tell an 8-year-old, you're not, what do you think that happens self-consciously? What do you think happens in that 8-year-old brain? Well, coach said that I'm not. So you know what? I'm not. Now we have a lot of work to do. You can do that, but we got now psychologically, he's going to say, hey, I got to work harder. I got to throw the ball more. Whatever is he's thinking or whatever is that girl's thinking. Because now if I tell the girl, hey, you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that. I tell the girls, you could be whatever you want to be. You just got to work at it. You got to show me. Okay. The reality is we're playing a high school sport. I need to know what you're good at. Not everybody's going to be a quarterback. Not everybody's going to be something. My job as a coach, and this is for the coaches, find out what that person or player is going to be. There's a job for everybody in football. Even if it's a backup, there's still a job and an opportunity. We just have to present it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it even translates to life. There's a job for everyone.
Yeah.
And this is where example of like how sports translates, to like real life. And I think the example of finding something that's in their world and making it relatable is so important as a coach and speaking their language.
Yeah.
Especially as we get older, like things change, like the way the culture changes, the way kids speak changes, like actually tapping into that and learning a little bit about that. Cause like they hear a coach say some slang word that they say, they're going to crack up and
Of
love it.
course.
So it's like actually investing in them and like relating to them. And like, obviously you're a coach, so you're in an authoritarian like figure where you have to like, sometimes you're going to have to make them run. Sometimes you're going to have to do planks. Sometimes you have to make them do stuff they don't want to do because that's what you're supposed to do. But like being relatable, learning that stuff is going to go a huge way because it's going to tap in and they're like, oh, I get it. Like I relate to that. I know what you're saying with that. And even like making that reference with your nephew, like the subconscious brain, like we can go in a whole different conversation with that, especially when they're younger. Like
Yeah.
this like goes into the childhood trauma. So I had that slip up earlier. It goes into that stuff though. Like if someone tells you no at an early age, you're gonna keep that with you forever. Like, and I've been way more like aware of that as I've gotten older and tried to work on my own stuff and break like kind of like old habits and like where did this come from? Like a lot of it's subconscious. You don't even realize like you could be like you and your partner could be having like a whole different like argument about something. Your kid could just be in the room listening.
Yeah.
And they're gonna like take that into their brain. It's gonna be part of them. Like the things that you say and things that you do matter to them. Like how you speak to them does matter. And like for so long, maybe parents didn't know, maybe they did know, maybe they didn't care. Like we're just more aware of it now, at least.
Yeah.
And especially even as coaches, like you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware how you speak to these kids, even high schoolers. Like there's stuff that is imprinted on me from coaches throughout my entire life. Like,
Yeah.
and it affects me in the way I do things. Like obviously for me, it's been mostly positive, but like I can imagine there's a lot of people with a lot of negative experiences that don't want to try things because maybe they had a bad coach like when they were playing soccer or basketball that said like that you can't do that, you're not going to do that, you're going to do what I tell you to do, versus being encouraged to actually do something. Like we need you to do this because you need to understand how this position works and then you'll be a better this
And
position.
you hit that on the head because I can go, I need you to do this. No, I'm not your parent. I'm not any. I'm your coach. So hey, this is what the team need. This is what the team needs from you. This is what we need. Unfortunately, if you're not able to take care of that, then we have to find somebody else. That's the conversation and that's the tone. Because the reality is, I can't demand anything from anybody. Just like I wouldn't want my boss, we need you to do this. Of course, they have the authority because we're adults, but you're gonna get a lot more receptiveness if you say, "Hey, can you do this for me a favor? Hey, when you get a chance, I need this done." That's a lot more easier than you're gonna have to do this or nah. Again, I need these girls to love the game of football. I need these girls to want to play. I got cheerleaders. Shout out to my cheerleaders. They are the most hardworking, and I'm not going to say most. We're afraid that they are a very hardworking group of girls. Because the cheerleading, hey, listen, I wasn't one of them. I was a skeptic on cheerleaders. Don't get mad at me, cheerleading coaches and cheerleaders, but their mindset. And I'm sorry we sidebar because I forgot about them because again, we all sit here and talk about what the prototypical athlete is, but we don't give the cheerleaders any love. I have a few cheerleaders on my team who work. And when I say work, it's 100% everything. Listen, they're on the field, mind you. They get out of school at 1:45. They're on this field from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock to then go to cheerleader practice, working on routes, working on just football stuff. I got cheerleaders saying, "Coach, I love football." But that was the whole premise of why I needed to make it prevalent because if we don't make we don't give them opportunities, nobody's gonna ever know. And again, I'm sorry to do that sidebar, but it just dawned on me on how important it is to just give our community girls an opportunity. Just try it. I drove to Massachusetts because there was a softball girl who had an interest in flag. I didn't get paid for it, but the point for me was to get flag football in this kid's mind. Went to Massachusetts. This kid's a monster, but she's a softball superstar. Now she likes flag a lot that she joined a travel team. Now she's in Cumberland doing flag there. And now she's partaking in it. She's really embracing flag football and softball. But the point is, that opportunity got opened up for her. Now, if I was in it for myself and I didn't give a damn, I'm nah, whatever, you paying me, it ain't about the money because I see the bigger picture, the bigger goal. We don't know what this kid might be in the Olympics in 2028 or whatever, whenever she gets opportunity. But she gonna say, damn, Coach Randy gave me the opportunity. And it's not even about me or accolades, but that kid got to where she needed to get to because of an opportunity that opened up.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're doing that and having that message and that mindset. I think that's so important when we're talking about this type of stuff. We are getting towards like that
Yeah,
back
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah,
So I want
yeah.
to get because I have that last question for
I
you,
got you,
but
brother.
I want you I always offer this to everyone. If we missed anything or you want to touch upon something again or reiterate, this would be your opportunity to do that. And then
Yeah,
wrap
yeah.
up my last question.
No, I mean, we covered pretty much everything. Again, I would just say, from our communities, let's try to get it more in. Let's get the girls an opportunity. I am currently talking to Central Falls Panthers DJ His name is DJ. He's the president, and we're trying to get flag football some type of division within Pop Warner or AYF, so that way when school's done, the girls can transfer over into something like pop, like how the boys do tackle, but we have the market for. We just got to push it. So me and him are talking. We're trying to get that going. But I would just say, listen, you know, people laughed at me. Just to let you know, when I had this idea, when I brought this up, people laughed at me. Girls playing flag football. What's next? And nobody believed in this. And this is not getting into your question, but I just wanted to throw that out there because, again, without the support of community's big. Shout out to Johnston. They embraced me. They gave me the tools, and I went from 28 girls last year on the high school team to 40 now. So again, that's a huge jump. North Providence, they went from 12 girls last year to 30 girls that want to play flag football. St. Ray's, they went from about 14 to 30. So the numbers don't lie. All right. So what we're doing, and thank you to those coaches and those schools that are pushing this, because again, this is free time. I work overnight. I wake up 1:30, eat something real quick, get ready to go to school. Let's go to practice. So thank you, coaches and the communities for supporting this because these girls need it. It's going to be very big soon. And again, we're in the possibility of being maybe 17th or 18th in the U.S. for sanctioned girls flag football.
That would be amazing to do that. And I think it's such a great thing to offer because, like we've talked about throughout this podcast, the values that are taught from football are endless and they last for life. Like the stuff that we've talked about from even the beginning of the podcast, stuff that we learned through playing sports, whether it was football or basketball or whatever, like a lot of the lessons we learn is through sports and then just giving the opportunity to girls to play
Yeah.
the sport. Like sometimes they're not given the opportunity in a lot of towns and cities and states. And I think what you're doing is bringing awareness and actually pushing for something that's going to have meaningful change. Like I said, the numbers don't lie. Like if you give people opportunities to play and they start seeing it, then they get curious. They want to see more of it, and then they might want to play. And I think it's just great opportunities for people to try different things. And I'm a big proponent of trying different sports and doing different things or doing different jobs or whatever you do in life. Like experience is like the ultimate thing, and having to do different things to figure out what you actually like. Like I didn't roll up one day. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a podcast. This is what I want to do. I did other things first, like, but then I got to this, and then I was like, yeah, I really enjoy this, and started doing it. And it just takes trial and error, and seeing things, awareness. It's important to bring awareness to stuff. And I think what you're doing is a fantastic thing. So, Randy, I'm bringing you to the end of the podcast with my last question is what would your advice be for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
Just do it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I joke, man. I joke. No, I would say, if you're gonna pursue your passion, I would say do your research on your passion. I would say, you really got to dig deep and make sure that you have the right components. Make sure you have the right support system. Make sure you have the right drive, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. I could be one of those guys that are trying to get a financial thing out of this. I could be, the AAU circuit, and I'm not doing nothing bad about AAU. I like AAU, but again, with great power comes great responsibility. So I would say make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, and make sure that you're giving it your all. There's a lot of people who don't give it their all, and again, I don't know why they don't, but for me, going from a year and a half ago to having a dollar in a dream to now actually getting traction where we've made it on the news, and girls flag football in Rhode Island are making headwaves. And again, that doesn't come from just overnight. It comes from being let down. I was let down a few times. I had some highs and lows throughout this process, but guess what? I kept my head down and I kept working. So I would say just keep going, and have that passion, and just make sure that you have a great support system, and that drive can't go nowhere. You're going to be disappointed a lot in your journey. You've been disappointed. I've been disappointed, but we got to keep our head up and just keep driving to that next level.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. Like this, like we were talking right before started recording, like there's days I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
There's days like where the editing is just like annoying, it's repetitive, it's long, like, but we do this, we sit here, we have the conversation. Like obviously everyone will see this when this comes out.
Yeah.
But like we're living it. It's like I always say this like after every podcast, like off air typically, but it's like it's euphoric. Like I just feel like I actually did something, like something meaningful. Like going back to all the conversation that we had prior, it was just like going out, doing all those stupid things when I was younger, like to this, like episode 208, like if I don't take that leap of faith to start something, who knows if we ever even meet, if we have a conversation, like you never know. Like, and here we are talking about something super meaningful and super like awesome. And I'm like very like happy to be able to give you a platform to talk about this, to hopefully bring more awareness and hopefully get it sanctioned faster and try to push this into more schools. Because I agree, this stuff needs to be in there. Like opportunities to play flag football, especially for girls, should be in schools. Like it should be a sport. Like I'm just like glad that you're willing to come on a platform like this and talk about it. And just a huge shout out to you for being vulnerable enough to like talk about stuff on a platform with cameras and all that. It's like not everyone is like ready to do it, but I really appreciate you for coming on this
I
platform
just want to
today.
throw one more
Yeah,
thing in
yeah.
before we end off of this. Just so everybody knows, girls flag football is an actual sport in college. So there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's another reason why I'm pushing this. All right. Right now it's in the NIAA. That's Division Three. What's going to happen in 2027? Cross our fingers. NCAA will adapt it, which would be Division One and Division Two for everybody that needs to know. And flag football will be in our. They are in our communities now. I'm actually going to Michigan April 4th. Siena Heights. Shout out to Coach Jesse. He's allowing me to bear witness and see him, an actual women's college coach at work. And again, that's just information where our girls can go to college for this. I have a girl in East Providence. I don't know if I mentioned it, but she's got 2 offers to go play in college. The first girl in Rhode Island to go to play college in flag football. So it is real. This is why I'm pushing it, because again, I'm not dragging it out, but we might have girls who don't know what they want to do with their lives and who don't know any avenues, and they pick up flag football. And if a college is going to pay for you to go play a game, to then you possibly take an advantage of maybe whatever degree or whatever major you want, why not? Why not? I'm currently working with colleges. They're going to be at our games on May. They're going to be scouting and recruiting our girls for opportunities. Again, this is kind of why I should have mentioned this earlier. So I don't want you to think
No,
I'm
you're
on a
good. You're good.
tangent, but I want people to know this is not just a game anymore. It's for real. It is for real. There are scouts that are going to be here. 2 girls from Rhode Island are in the process of playing at the next level. And that's all because of what I did from the summer with my diamonds on the gridiron, and also an opportunity that was open. Again, I don't want any accolades, but I'm just, again, back to what you said, people believe in what you're doing and keep fighting, because things just happen out of good faith and good heart if you're doing the right things.
100%. And I think that was a great point to like add into as we start to wrap up. Randy, like I said, I do appreciate you, but I want you to be looking scammer, plug the stuff, plug the dates that everything's going to be happening, so everyone just has awareness.
All right, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Randy Phillips at 401. If you want to follow the Johnston Lady Panthers, the first girls official flag football team / club, that's Johnston Lady Panthers flag football, diamonds on the gridiron, and also what I do with training on the side for girls, providing opportunities. Just how it sounds, diamonds on the gridiron. Our first official game is going to be May 3rd. I'll definitely connect, and we'll talk more about that, and if we can share through the social medias what we're shooting for May 3rd, and it's going to be electric. Again, we want the young girls, we want everybody to come out, and let's support our girls in Rhode Island, because I fully believe that once you see what they do on the football field, this is going to transition to, hey, what can that girl do on the basketball court? What can she do? And now we're going to get the stands filled, and now girls sports in Rhode Island will be more heavily appreciated than before, because unfortunately the real reality is, who's really coming to a girls basketball game? Not that many people. So I'm hoping that football can give these girls that market and give these girls that platform. And also I'm trying to get NIL deals. That's a whole different thing, but I'm working hard for the girls in Rhode Island.
That's awesome, and I really appreciate that. And everything will be out there, and we'll share socials, and um, hopefully this gets out there far and wide. And I want to see this go out and get pushed. And yeah, again, I just really appreciate you for coming on this
Thank you,
podcast and
brother.
doing
No,
this.
I
It's been
appreciate you,
fantastic.
brother. Thank you. Thank you.
For you guys, if you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search The Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll, and it'll pop up. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at The Carroll Connection, and we'll set that up. And plug in the book again. This is The 5 Pillars to Create a Meaningful Life. Only available on Amazon. Get it now. Read it, review it, submit the review on Amazon, and that will go a long way for me in the algorithm. So, till next time, guys. Peace.